the keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback. It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Impact. Who's going to make a big impact for the 49ers? Plus, Fred Warner has been making an impact at 49er training camp. All that and more on today's episode of 49ers Cutback podcast. I'm Anthony Robertson, and here with me is the Horse, Alex Horse. What's up, Horsty?
What's going on, guys? Ready for another exciting edition of the podcast.
And Alex Isenia. What's up, Alex?
Nothing much, man. Always excited about impact players. Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. Let's talk about them.
I got a big-time question to kick it off. Horst, which off-season acquisition will make the biggest impact for the 49ers on offense in 2020?
Well, you know what I'm about when it comes to football, and I'm going to go with Big Trent Williams at left tackle. I loved me some Joe Staley, but Trent Williams at this point in their careers is a better football player. And Trent Williams is going to have another all-pro season like he always has with the Washington football team. And he's got a year of rest. His legs are fresh. He's looking good, giving Nick Bosa all sorts of issues at practice from what we've been told. I think Trent Williams is in for a big-time year.
Trent Williams is the obvious one. I was going to go with Trent Williams, but I thought to myself, there's no way one of my other compatriots here isn't going to bring him up. So I'm going to go with Jordan Reed. I think Jordan Reed, in terms of what he's going to do for the offense in the red zone, what he allows us to expand for the offense, is huge. Because you're going to have to account for him. You always have to account for George Kittle. And now you can set up situations in which you have George Kittle staying into block. And that may make the defense and the scheme that they're running think that it is a run play and maybe sell out for the run a little bit more and then slip Jordan Reed out into little option routes or out into the flats when the defense commits to a run on a play action fake, which Kyle Shanahan loves to do. I think Jordan Reed is going to open up the offense and create a lot of mismatch and problems for the secondary so that George Kittle can take advantage of it as well as Jordan Reed. So I feel like he adds another dynamic to the offense. I do think Trent Williams probably is going to be the most important thing there for us. I think Jordan Reed is going to make us the most diverse offensively, both in the red zone and just on any given drive, anytime that he's in and playing.
I chose Jordan Reed as well. I think he's going to make the biggest impact. These teams were getting players in place to stop George Kittle. They're drafting him. They're signing him. And Jordan Reed makes that basically pointless now. Because you can't cover him with the linebacker. Jaquiski Tartt's having all kinds of problems with this guy. This guy is the best route runner at camp, and he's making big-time plays. He's going to score more touchdowns than George Kittle this year. And I think that he is a missing piece. He's going to be so vital to what the 49ers do. Budda Baker got a big deal. He can cover George Kittle all he wants. He can't cover both of them. It's going to be a real issue for them. Jamal Adams, great signing. Bobby Wagner can't cover either one of these guys, so you're going to have an issue there. So as long as these two guys stay healthy this year, the 49ers, 22 personnel is going to be fun to watch. I cannot wait for it.
Speaking of defense, which offseason acquisition will make the biggest impact for the 49ers on defense, Alex?
I'm going to go with Kerry Hyder. And the reason I'm going to go with Kerry Hyder is Kasarik has spoken heavily about him. But yeah, Kerry Hyder, because of how much Kasarik and the defensive staff seems to love him already with the things he's done so early in training camp. I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity to shine. I think he's actually healthy. He's had some time now removed from the Achilles injury that he's going to be able to produce and perform at a high level. And he's not going to have to do it on a heavy amount of snaps. When he's played 50% of the snaps, he's produced and done a lot. The 1 year he did about 40% of the snaps, he had a fairly good year, a couple sacks. That's really all we need out of him. We don't need him to be a guy that puts up, Armstead numbers or Buckner numbers from a year ago where he had 7.5, 8 sacks. We just need 3 or 4 from this dude, and for him to be a consistent run stopper especially. And he can be that. Kasarik believes he can do it. He's very high on him. I think he's going to have every opportunity to do it, and I think he's going to be the biggest impact player because he's going to give us depth at the position that the 49ers staff as well as front office has decided is the most important position for our defense. It starts with the D-line, it starts with those front four, and he adds depth to the most important position on the field for us on defense.
I was going to say Kerry Hyder too, but now I won't. I'm going to switch, and I'm going to say Javon Kinlaw. And I'm going to say this because I think he's the biggest acquisition because he's literally the biggest acquisition. But I think that, you had to replace DeForest Buckner, and you got this guy. I don't think he's going to ultimately right away make a big impact, but I think as we get towards the end of the season, this guy is still a freak of nature. He's got so much ability, and I think he's going to make a big impact. So I think that he'll end up being the biggest. I do like Kerry Hyder, and I would have went with Kerry Hyder as well for all the reasons that you said. I think those were very good points. And there wasn't a lot of movement for the 49ers on defense. They pretty much brought everyone back. If they would have signed Jason Verrett this year, acquired him, that's who I would have said. But I didn't. I said Javon Kinlaw.
My big acquisition, it was Hyder, but I'm going to go with Jason Verrett because I'm not counting him as being on the team last year because he only played a few plays in one game, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think he's going to come in and have a big impact. He's clearly gone through camp healthy so far, and there's been nothing but positive reports about him. I think he's going to be a big-time impact in the defensive backfield this year. So, listeners, who do you think is the biggest impact signing we've made this year on offense or on defense? Let us know in the comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe to our page.
With all the success that the 49ers are experiencing the last few years and the growth of this team, the next thing that is on my mind, Ant, is are we now a premier destination for players in the league?
Absolutely. Every single person that's going to be traded or becomes a free agent is somehow tied to the 49ers. I mean, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have to answer questions about every single player. Earl Thomas, David Njoku, Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, you name it. Jamal Adams, Antonio Brown. Every player that becomes available, they're getting tied to. And the reason is because the 49ers are winners, and it's a good place to be. Everyone likes the culture that they've created. Players want to be here. As soon as they get released or put on the trade block, then their agent automatically puts out that the 49ers are interested. And I think that that's really a good thing for the 49ers because the more players are interested in coming here, the better it is for the team overall. And it continues to push the narrative that the 49ers are the best team in the NFL and the best destination, which I think was always kind of considered to be Dallas. And I think that's starting to change a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely think the 49ers are a premier destination for players. There's a few reasons behind it. One, they're the 5-time Super Bowl champion 49ers. The ghosts of Candlestick still hanging over that place. Two, they're winning right now, and Shanahan seems like a great guy to play for, and that he's developed, like you said, a great culture around there. And I would say the last thing, it's kind of a weird reason, but look at the way they've parted ways with guys over the last year. There haven't been messy breakups. With Buckner, they let him give them a list of teams to trade him to. There's no salt there from DeForest Buckner. Usually those situations end up with someone upset. And it didn't. They're still cool with Buckner. They just let him know, like, hey, we can't afford what you want. Where do you want to go? And that kind of thing will get back to other players. When a guy like, when maybe someone knows Buckner and asks like, hey, what's it like in San Francisco? If a guy that they trade gives them a good recommendation, then that goes a long way.
So for all the reasons you guys just said, I'm going to disagree with you here and say no. In terms of premier destination, I don't believe they are. But for good things, good reasons for us. I think they are the desired destination. I think it's the place people would like to end up, but it's likely not going to happen. And it's due to things like a lack of cap space. We have a lot of talented guys who are on big contracts, and we have young guys who are going to have to pay down the road. We do a great job of drafting that young talent, which means they're exploding and coming off and having great years in years 1, 2, and 3 very early in their careers. And they're guys who are going to be the foundational pieces going forward that we're going to have to keep around most likely just because of their age, their ceiling, what the potential could be. So there's going to be less opportunity to shine for like big name free agents coming in who also want big money. It's going to be really hard to have an impact on the championship team and get paid what you want to pay for that reason. Football is probably the only one of those pro sports that isn't like a lot of the other ones where you see a lot of ring chasing going on when guys are still near their prime. Guys usually wait in the NFL until they're at their last leg and just have a little bit left to give to the game and to the young talent before they start ring chasing and signing with teams that are contenders for that kind of thing. You see that a little bit more maybe in basketball, but usually guys in basketball are still young, near their primes or in their primes when they're going to another team or another organization to try and get a ring. Baseball, similar kind of thing. Guys like Giancarlo Stanton and are forcing their way out of Miami when they're still in their prime to play for the Yankees to get themselves to a big organization and have a chance at a ring. While they're still young, Alex Rodriguez did the same thing. So for all those reasons, I don't think we're the premier destination because we can't offer some of those things. You can't necessarily offer a stud D lineman the opportunity to make tons of money and be the guy on a D line that already stands out. Our linebacking core is young and talented. We're not going to get a big named, huge linebacker to come in and want to rotate in rotationally with Quan Alexander, Fred Warner, and Greenlaw. Like, it's just not going to happen. That's the same reason why we didn't go out and make the big deal for a guy like Jamal Adams. No matter how talented he is, and even if he fits well in the scheme, the money-wise, it just didn't make sense. And it takes away from our ability to keep those young guys happy and paid in the future. I think we're the desired place to be. I think people want to be here, but in terms of premier, we don't fit free agents. I don't think we're a premier destination for free agents. I think we're a premier destination for young talent coming out of the draft. I think every player coming into the NFL draft is like, I would love to go play in San Francisco. That would be great for my career and for my future and being able to play in an organization like that. For highly touted free agents, it's going to be, I think it's just hard for us. We're handcuffed by all the other great things that we're doing. And in all honesty, that's probably not that big of a deal because it didn't seem to bother the New England Patriots for their entire run with a guy like Belichick. Yeah, they got a few big name guys in there, but they weren't known for the big free agents they were signing. It was more the trades they were making, getting away from guys at the right time in their careers and letting them move on and bringing in the young guys who were going to fill the holes that the crafty vet who had been there and played there for most of his career voided by being traded away or walking away in free agency.
The 49ers is a home for premier players. Fred Warner has had some dust-ups at practice. As reported, you've been smacking people at practice, especially Raheem Mostert, and he don't like that. Horst, what do you think about this attitude when he steps on the field?
I absolutely love it. Fred Warner's taking over, showing he's the captain of the defense, maybe the captain of the whole team. You don't want your middle linebacker not to be rough and intimidating physically. Fred Warner's finally putting it all together after a great year last year. He's clearly become more physical at camp this year. He's setting a tone for the whole defense because when maybe someone's not feeling it, everyone that's played football knows this. The second you get out to your team or 11 on 11, whatever you want to call it, if someone lays a big hit the first play, it gets everyone hyped up and ready to go. And I think that's what Warner's doing. And he's also forcing the offensive players to step their game up or you're going to get lit up. And I absolutely love it. That's the kind of guy you want defending your goal line, is the guy that's out there ready to fight, ready to go after it. I was really excited to hear that.
And it's dust-ups. We're not talking about brawls. We're not talking about a guy who's causing problems. He's just pushing buttons and, like you said, forcing the young guys and everyone just to setting the tone. You need to step up. This is who we are. This is how we're going to play. This is how we're going to do things. The way I like to think about it, and this analogy is every hero needs a villain. On every team, there has to be the bad guy. Someone who is the guy pushing the buttons, getting everybody else trying to work on the same page or play at a higher level. The bad boy Pistons referred to it as wearing the black hat. That's what he is right now. He's putting on the black hat. He's playing the role of the bad guy and the guy who's pushing buttons, not letting guys get away with stuff, not letting guys maybe skate by or, if they make a mistake, he's not just, hey, it's going to be okay. That's what you have the whole team. The whole team mentality is lift your brothers up. But sometimes you need that guy who's unwilling to necessarily help you up so much as give you the kick in the butt that you need to play better or play harder or, not stand down or step away or shy away from, maybe not necessarily confrontation, but shy away from contact or the big play or doing something that maybe, other guys would stay away from because maybe I'll get hurt or, that's a beating I don't want to take. And like Horst said, he seems to be putting it all together. He understands what's needed, what maybe is needed to get them over the hump, and he's filling the role and doing what he thinks is necessary to get this team to the next step, which is that next Super Bowl, number 6. So super excited about it. Always love it when a guy's trying to be the villain and wear the black hat. Big fan. Big fan.
He's bringing the noise.
You want the noise brought on you? Because here it comes. What? The noise brought on you because here it comes.
Just hike the ball, nut job.
I think he's really setting the tone for what the defense needs to be. This is what Ronnie Lott did in the 80s. Ronnie Lott used to set the tone until George Seifert told him he couldn't hit anyone anymore. And when Seifert became head coach, and he really didn't like that about George. He said he turned into what they despised, the little finesse receivers and stuff. But I think Warner's setting a tone for the 49ers defense going forward. One of the things that they were weak in last year was stopping the run. So there's an attitude that goes with it. Who's the guy that he's having the most dust-ups with? Raheem Mostert, the run. So, I mean, this is what we expect from players on the field. And I like that Fred Warner is a specific way on the field and the complete opposite off the field. He's business on the field and he's business off the field. It's just he knows that when he's on that field, he needs to be a savage. And he needs to lead by example, and he's doing that. And now the defense will take after him and do the same that he does. Hitting is infectious. When you play football, when somebody hits, everyone wants to hit harder. And so those type of things are huge. And the all gas, no brakes thing, it's not just something you say, it's something you do. And he's proving it. Shanahan had to pull him from practice because he's saving him from himself because he only knows one speed. And that's what we need from the defense this year. If that defense can take another step, I feel sorry for everyone else. So, yeah, Fred Warner, great job. Keep it up. Keep smacking people. I want to hear more people whining at practice. That's always a good sign when offensive players are whining.
Speaking of running backs that have probably gotten lit up by Fred Warner, do we think JaMycal Hasty can beat out Jeff Wilson Jr. for that last running back spot on the roster, Alex?
It's going to be tough, but it's not impossible. It's not a hurdle that can't be climbed or gotten around. He can't get past it. He can. He definitely can. In college, he was a guy who averaged around 5 yards a carry. He showed an ability to be able to catch the ball out of space. I think the big thing is just going to be for him picking up on blocking schemes and maybe a little bit more of the route concepts that he's going to need to run. Jeff Wilson Jr. has shown he can run a lot of different route patterns, especially out of the backfield in this offense. So for someone like JaMycal Hasty, it isn't necessarily just going to be his ability to run the football so much as it's going to be a reliable receiver and or blocker. And Jeff Wilson Jr. is not going to make that easy for the young guy. He's really not. The only other way I could see him potentially sneaking on or beating him out is in the return game as well, special teams. His ability to be a returner, return the ball. He did it at Baylor, and he had a couple years where he led Baylor, or at least was in the top 5 in kick returns for touchdowns. I think he only had 1 in both seasons, but I mean, 1 is still more than a lot of other kick returners and punt returners at any level are doing. So if he can beat him out in a couple different facets, I think he has an edge. Whether or not he can do that with just reps and practice is a whole other story and a whole another question. I think if we're talking about preseason and a normal preseason with games, he'd have a better opportunity to, especially in those first 2 or 3 weeks of preseason and preseason games. Without those games, it's going to be really hard to oust a guy like Wilson, who seems like every year under Shanahan, he's had a slightly bigger and bigger role. I wouldn't say he's a camp favorite for someone like Kyle Shanahan, but he's definitely trusted.
I wouldn't have said he was going to make the team at any point since I signed him. Like, that wasn't something I thought was in the realm of possibilities. But lately, I've been watching interviews, and when Kyle Shanahan's not willing to talk about someone very much, that's when I start paying attention. And they've been bringing up what he's been doing in practice, what Hasty's been doing, and the runs that he's been making. And he keeps poo-pooing it. He keeps putting it like, well, we can't really see if he can break tackles. Yeah, he made a nice run, but we're not taking him to the ground. And those things always make me think, all right, he doesn't want anyone to know about this guy. Like, he doesn't want anyone to know how good this guy is. So that makes me always a little interested in how good that player is. And I've only heard good things about him. I've heard he's looked great in camp. He's got shiftiness like crazy. So he fits into the mold of what they're looking for. He can catch out of the backfield. He can make quick cuts. He's got a little bit of a wiggle to him.
boy can flat out play football. Out, and he can pass.
So I think he's going to push it. I think this is going to be the hardest choice. I think if they could sneak him onto the practice squad, they would. I just don't know if he's going to make it. If he gets cut and waived, there's no real guarantee that he's going to be on the practice squad. He might be gone. He might be on somebody else's 53-man roster.
Speaking of what you just said, I actually, because of that stuff, was inclined to put him in front of Jeff Wilson at the moment. But then it came out that at their most recent practice, I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday, that in goal line drills, Jimmy threw 5 straight touchdowns in 5 possessions, and 3 of them were to Jeff Wilson. So I think it's still, Jimmy really trusts Jeff Wilson. And I think it's going to be really hard for them to cut him either, because I don't think he makes it back onto your practice squad either if you cut Jeff Wilson. It's going to be a really interesting choice. At the moment, I would say Jeff Wilson has him by a little bit, but this is one of those ones that it would not surprise me in the least bit to see either guy make the team. Because like you said, the second Shanahan starts poo-pooing someone or talking them down like that, generally means they're playing well. Because when he's actually talking negative on someone, you know it. Ask Dante Pettis. He just straight came out and called him out last year when he was upset with him. Shanahan's usually not shy with that stuff. So I think that the way he's acting, he really does like Hasty. But at the moment, I would put Jeff Wilson on the roster over him still.
Or Secret Shanny is just totally mind-blowing us right now and is playing like 12D multi-universe chess with everybody, and it just has everyone guessing. I don't think that's the case, but
I think he is trying to talk him down a little bit, because he's trying to sneak him onto the practice squad. Because I do think that they want Wilson Jr. for the short yardage carries, and he's the difference, because Tevin Coleman's right now the only other short yardage back that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really what they're looking for. Hasty is a lot like McKinnon. So I think those guys mirror each other, which may be why they want Hasty on the practice squad in case something happens with McKinnon. But
well, and Alex mentioned Hasty's special team work, but you got to remember Jeff Wilson's a great special teamer as a gunner and as a coverage guy.
Yeah.
Especially because I think that this year they really want Dante Pettis to take over at return. And I think Trent Taylor will take some of the punts because he's a very good punt returner as far as he always secures the ball. So those type of decisions are going to be interesting. Special teams plays a big role. We don't always think about special teams, but it plays a big role.
Until they make a mistake.
Yeah, until who they keep, right? All right, guys, that's it. Chalk another one up. Great episode.
Oh, hey there. How's it going, eh? Thanks for watching to the end of the video. Make sure you click that like button down there, and while you're at it, you can hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. That would be swell. Also, if you like more videos and the content that we're putting out, there's some videos right over here. That one up top looks pretty good. That one down there, that one's also looks nice as well. Stay safe, and remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.